Good morning. My name is Ahmad Perry. I am a member of your Board of Trustees. The pronouns I use for myself are he and him. I've been a member of the church for about 5 years. I would like to draw your attention to these top announcements found in your latest e-news sent out this Thursday. The board voted that we remain virtual until at least 27 February. We need the COVID case count to drop below 1,000 and at least 10% or less of dedicated hospital beds before we can reopen. Show your love, don't delay, send us a selfie today, but no later than February 8th, holding a Side with Love sign. Don't forget that today we are having a post-service chat on Zoom. You were emailed the link in your e-news, and Reverend D posted it on Realm. We will share some grief and gratitude, joys and concerns, as well as talk about today's service, Emergent Strategies. Connect with the UUCW community at 11:30 a.m. today. Rev D looks forward to seeing you without your mask. Finally, I want to share the Diamond Fund totals. UUCW has 189 pledging households. 68 households donated to the Diamond Fund. That is 34% of the congregation. We had hoped for 60% in honor of the 60th anniversary, and many people have fund donating amount of $6, $60, $666.66, and even $6,000 to the campaign. We are thrilled to announce we raised $24,000. Thank you. This makes a huge difference in the budget gap we had expected. It is a wonderful way to honor 60 years this congregation has been saving lives. Many also honored Reverend Suzell's 17 years with the congregation. Thank you so much for believing in the work we do to care for one another.
That is excellent news, Ahmad. I am Eddie Daniel. The pronouns that I use are he and his. As a worship associate today, I want to welcome all of you and give a special welcome if you are a visitor checking us out. If you are new here and have not heard from us after checking your spam folders, or even if you just have a question, please pop us an email and tell us a bit about yourself. We would love to know what you are seeking. Please email us at visitor@uucw.org. Again, that is visitor@uucw.org. We would love to connect with you. Just as we don't know someone's name until they tell us, we also don't know what pronouns they use. If you are unfamiliar with how adding our pronouns can help us welcome people and create a safer place for some of our friends, I encourage you to talk with Reverend Denise.
Whoever you are, from wherever you come, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you define family, you are welcome. The identities you hold, how you want to be called, and your pronouns are respected and welcomed here. Whatever the color of your skin, the language your grandparents spoke, the cultures that move in your being, the abilities and disabilities you hold, we welcome you.
Whatever you believe, whatever your theology, prayer, or sacrament, even if none at all, we welcome you. We unite in Unitarian Universalist principles. We are a community of communities, spiritual seekers acting out our faith in justice, united in covenant and the spirit of love.
We welcome all of you. Welcome to our service. Hymn 1064, Blue Boat Home, by Peter Meyer, will be performed by Carol Sewell, Jim Fisher, Andrew Fisher, and Ruben Piranen.
Good morning, everyone. And while you're waiting for us to get set up, this is one of my absolute favorite songs in the world, Blue Boat Home. And you can Google the lyrics if you want and find them online and sing along if you like. We invite you to do that. And if you don't know the words, that's fine. You can also just hum along. It's a wonderful melody. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue bird home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
We light our chalice today with words from the UUA Leadership Council, a vision for Unitarian Universalism in a multicultural world. Please kindle your chalice at home and read along. With humility and courage born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings, and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this vision in our hearts and minds, we light our chalice as a spark of love.
Good morning. I'm Dave Cicero, Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UUCW, and my pronouns are he and his. So I've been practicing yoga for some time, not as regularly as I might like, but for a fairly long time, span of years. And I really appreciate the flexibility, the balance, and strength it embodies in myself, both in my mind and my body. I recently started exploring Qigong, which has a lot of similar movements and a lot of similar benefits, it seems, focusing a little bit more on our internal energy. The similarities between these two practices include many poses and movements mimicking nature and based on natural phenomenon. The early practitioners of these practices, the early people who developed these practices, obviously understood the earth, the animals, natural cycles, really hold a lot of wisdom and power. And they've lasted for far longer than we humans have been around. So I'd like to share just a couple poses with you this morning. And you can join with me. If you're able to stand, feel free to do that. If you remain seated, that's fine too. The most basic pose in yoga, a starting pose, is called mountain pose. I'm actually going to raise this microphone up just a little bit so that I can practice it fully and still be heard. So if you're able to stand up, just stand with your feet around shoulder width distance. If you're seated, that's fine too. In either case, inhale and just bring your shoulders back a little bit, just to open up your chest and open up your heart. And imagine a string pulling the crown of your head ever so slightly upward. And just take a breath. This is mountain pose. Just feel the stability and the strength you have inside your body. As you breathe in, preferably through your nose, but sometimes seasonally we can't do that. Just feel your breath enter your lungs, and as you exhale, just feel it release. That energy is moving through you in your breath. Another common pose in yoga is a sun salutation. It starts off with a bit of a salute. So from mountain pose, whether seated or standing, just feel yourself grounded first of all. Your feet or your sitting bones are just grounded into what's supporting you. With your inhale, raise your arms up above your head. If you can, if it feels right, even look up ever so slightly, arching your back ever so slightly to protect our low back. And feel the energy that you're absorbing from the universe. With your exhale, bring your hands down. Let's do that one more time. I have a little quote I'm going to read while we salute the sun. So again, inhale your arms up. The sun shows me that brightness brings warmth to others. I smile and shine when things look dim. Release and bring your arms down as you exhale. One other pose that's fairly common really develops balance. So again, you start with that very grounded feeling. And this is typically a standing pose, but it's okay. You can If you're sitting and can't get up, that's okay. You can just practice it. It's called tree pose. Again, another natural entity. As you feel that groundedness, shift your weight into one leg or one side of your body. As you feel the balance, raise your other heel so that it rests on your ankle. You can even do this while you're seated, but if you're standing, you'll be noticing your body engaging in a bit of balance challenge. Bring your hands to heart center. Just breathing in and breathing out. To help with your balance, you might softly gaze at a point on the floor in front of you. As you breathe in and breathe out. Inhale your arms up as your branches extend into the air. Perhaps a breeze is catching you a little bit, but that's okay. We bend, but we don't break. In that position, I'll read another line. Soil shows me how to support those around me. I care for tiny seeds until their roots are strong and their leaves reach for the sky. Good things can grow from me. Trees show me how to stand tall even when the wind tries to blow me down. I dance with the breeze, but I do not fall. And exhale your arms down. So those lines I was reading during those poses are actually from a book called From Tree to Sea by Shelley Moore Thomas. It's a children's book that points out the many things found in nature and asks us to wonder about the power and the wisdom found there. Illustrations are by Christopher Silas Neal. Go to the next slide first. A baby bird shows me how not to be afraid, to spread my wings and fly. I'll never find out how high I can soar unless I try. Whales show me the wonder of big things and small things. I dream big dreams, yet I can take only small strokes, one at a time, to make them come true. What can the whale, the stars, the flower, or the mountain show you? The observations of nature made here in this book are supported in the Unitarian Universalist principles and sources, which instruct us to live in harmony with the earth and to celebrate the lessons found in nature. Today, Reverend Denise invites us to find in nature strategies for living well. The important thing to remember, I think, is that any good we hope to bring into the world needs to start here. And plants, animals, forces of weather and gravity and air and water all have wisdom that we can mine, that we can learn from. Not just when practicing yoga, but every day. So my invitation and my question to you. Invitation is to pay close attention to the natural world every time you're in it. And my question, what life lessons will you discover there?
Good morning. I am Reverend Denise Cawley, and the pronouns I use for myself are she and her. I am the minister here, and I am delighted to be with you. My intention with this time is to offer you some words of discernment or meditation, and then allow you about 30 seconds at the end to consider your cares in silence after my words, and then I will conclude that moment of reverence. This is called A Complex Movement by Adrienne Marie Brown. Over and over again, it becomes known. The peace we seek is seeking us. The joy of a full bud awaiting our attention. Justice in our hands, longing to be practiced. The whole world learning from within. This thrilling mote in the universe laboratory, labyrinth. Internalized demands. You are the ones you are waiting for. You are the ones you are waiting for. Externalized love. Bind us together into a greater self, a complex movement, a generative abundance, an embodied evolution. Learn to be here. Critique is a seductress. Her door is always open. So what if you get some? We are going further past reform to wonder. This requires comprehension that cannot fit in words out beyond our children, beyond the end of time. There is a ceaseless cycle, a fractal of the sublime, and we come to create it. To soil our hands and faces, loving, loving, and loving ourselves and all our places. Please take a moment to consider your cares and concerns. May it be so, and amen. Emergent Strategies is a term coined by Adrienne Marie Brown with a book of the same title, Emergent Strategies. Adrienne Marie Brown is an author, activist, social justice facilitator, healer, and so much more. She has been a part of many of the most significant social movements in recent years, including Black Lives Matter and Occupy Wall Street. These movements teach us that organizing can be done in different ways than we are used to thinking of leadership. Come with me on a journey today as we explore emergent strategies and how we can look at nature to guide us in our leadership work that we have to do together. Emergence is beyond the sum of its parts. It's beyond what we could even imagine. Brown looks to Margaret Wheatley's leadership studies of leadership in the new science, and that addresses things like quantum physics, biology, and chaos theory. What can we learn from those as we look to relationships in leadership? Wheatley teaches us that everything in leadership, everything we accomplish, comes down to relationships and our quality of those relationships. Critical connections are essential. Chaos is part of the process. We have to have a little chaos, especially in the beginning, as we try to figure out what's going on and what the next direction is. That's a really important part of the leadership. You wouldn't think so, but it's essential. And then sharing information is fundamental to this process. The information shared has to be transparent. What's out there? What's available to make decisions with? Everyone gets the information. That way we can all analyze it, all study it. And that creates a vision. And from that vision, we can work together to be invisible in what we do so that binds us together. We need our vision to be so essential that it's everywhere. Emerging from relationships and chaos and information. If that's something of interest to you, check out Margaret Wheatley's work. But understand that it is from our relationships, our sharing of what we know, our sharing of information. There may be some chaos. It's confusing, and that's okay. It's part of the vision coming together. Brown's work studies Octavia Butler, the famous science fiction writer. Butler teaches that all successful life is fractal, adaptable, and adaptive. All successful life is opportunistic, and the success is not linear, but it is iterative. That means small parts form the larger whole, just like this dandelion. Successful life and leadership is tenacious, resilient, good at change. Think about how transformative justice works. That's an example. Indeed, success comes from being interconnected. Look at our interconnected web that our principles point us to. Indeed, success in leadership and leading organizations, and even all the way down to the fractal place of our homes or our own mind, is both independent and decentralized. And at the same time, when it comes together, it's all these parts together acting in that same vision. Leadership and life is fecund. It creates more possibilities. And we can all understand it, learn it, study it, reflect in our scholarship, and then we can use it. We can use it because we all have access to the information. We practice, we experiment, there are no mistakes. In Octavia Butler's theology, she talks about that God is change. It's not that God is some entity, it's the notion of change that reflects something greater and more divine. So you can shape that kind of God because you can shape change. Dandelions have no idea if they are a weed or a gorgeous flower. They don't know. But each seed can create a field of dandelions because they too are fractal. And we are invited to be that prolific and return the fertility to the soil around us. Be a seed. You will hear me talk about oak trees from time to time. I'm especially enamored with the ones in the middle of a farm field. They call to me. I don't know if you can see these, but I am holding some acorns. 2 weeks ago, I told you a story about an acorn. The acorn, whether it is ideally formed or darker brown or lighter tan, or whether it has an acorn cap that is smoother or bumpier, it never seems to have a conversation with itself about if it's good enough to become an oak tree. It inherently is meant to be an oak tree. It may or may not make it into the ground, like these ones didn't. They've been in our religious education storage closet. It might be gobbled up by a squirrel. Perhaps some wistful walker will pick it up and put it in a pocket, or perhaps rub it on that silky side against their thumb and forefinger. Maybe it becomes a wish, a worry stone. Regardless, the acorn is only there to become a tree. It never says, I'm not good enough to be a tree. I'm not even going to try. Some other acorn will step forward because I'm not ideally formed, or I'm not sure what it has, if I have what it takes, or I'm too sad or depressed or busy. Nope. It just intends to become an oak tree, no judgment. Now, with my recent ankle surgery, I'm not able to get out and walk the way I like to. This time of year, I pine for interesting ice formations. I have watched the season going by in the photos friends and congregants put on Facebook from their walks. Thank you, Eddee, who's helping in this service today, for capturing your nature adventures. And another congregant of ours, David Stokes, has taken me to see owls I dream of meeting. But right now, I visit them only in his photos. You see, emergence is beyond what you can even see. It is beyond what the sum of its parts could even imagine. The acorn doesn't imagine becoming an oak tree. Its essence is to be the tree. David Stokes is photographing many owls perched or nesting, and these gorgeous creatures are tucked away being birds. They are doing what nature and their divine essence calls them to do, to create or to become. The owls are not doing contingency planning or calling a meeting. They don't decide as a group where to migrate. There are no strategic plans. They're not spending their Saturdays writing letters to raise funds to finance the next flight. They are not wondering if they are doing it right. No one ever will announce to them, we have to do it this way because the United Association of Owls has a 136-page manual that says this is our process. They are responding to a call deep in their being, and it is so centered on what they must do, on what is guiding them, that they follow it. Now, hearing that, you might think, oh, birds are independent. Nature is all doing it all on its own way. Nothing of the sort is true. Nature, like a family, or a company, or a workplace, or a nonprofit, or NGO, and yes, even a church or congregation, they are all systems. And systems work by responding to one another. Each entity in the system is bringing their own adaptations. In emergent systems, all members are invited to be prolific. How can each part of the system be as much of their best self, their greatest essence as possible? The owl is to become the best owl it can become, using its essence, resources, luck, and environment. Each part of the system has a great impact on the rest of the system. That is why in our congregation, we set up systems to care for one another, to nurture one another with a loaf of homemade bread when we're ill, or perhaps we listen to one another without giving advice. Sometimes we offer one another love when the world is harsh. We nurture our system. Dandelions, like the video I made, do not know if they are a weed or a wonder. Each dandelion seed can create a field of dandelions. They don't even know that we're upset with them for being so prolific. They root down deep and hang on tight. It's hard to stop them from being their essence. They just keep trying to be themselves. They, like you, are invited to be prolific. In that prophecy, you are invited to return fertility to the soil, water, and air all around. Now, how do owls or dandelions do that? How do the birds know where to next, when to fly, when the rest is needed, when to have children, when to start a family? How do the seeds know where to root and when to let go? Yes, we could talk a lot about science here, and I know some of you will, and I'm grateful for it. And I invite you also in this moment to hold that we can learn from the essence of all those things in nature. Now, I come from a long nonprofit management and organizing career. I led parades until I got hoarse. I have been on event teams where at the end of a big show, event, dinner kind of thing, I'm limping from running back and forth. I too have cried at the end of meetings where people were cruel or disingenuous. I have been in crowds where people were crushing against one another. I have also been part of protests where just a couple of leaders guided hundreds of people of all ages along busy streets, across train tracks, young and old, walking and with wheelchairs and canes, all with a few simple hand motions. How can we be like these birds, the dandelions, or finely tuned organizers? I have been trying to quickly get to know you all as I transition from being your pastoral care minister, focusing on issues of healing and trauma and hurt, to your only minister. In my 6 days in this new role, I have started calling members and learning more about you. And many of you have had questions about leadership styles and where to go next, and strategies and wonderings. Some of you want to know how to bring our goals as a congregation to be anti-oppression and anti-racist into how we lead. This worship service comes to you entirely from your questions, your request to learn more. Now, between the pandemic and Omicron and the minister of 17 years leaving this winter, We have had a bit of chaos here. I acknowledge that. Some of you have wondered, what does a minister even do? They only associate it with Sunday morning. Granted, there was a time in ministry over 100 years ago where, well over 100 years ago, where women were not in the ministry, right? And men who were in the ministry were known for spending most of their time in their office writing their sermon all week. But it's a pretty antiquated idea that's about 120 plus years old. So I get it. I get it that you have questions. This is how we're most visible. But like the owls, I'm in training. And you are the teachers. Just as they would listen to their fellow owls, I am listening to you right now. I am learning you. I am studying you. Reverend Suzelle gave me some notes and offered many resources and advice. And she had been training me and passing on the baton. And at the same time, I am me with my own essence, experience, and knowings. I want to thank our wonderful staff, 3 of which are here today, who have stepped up to help me. Thank you. Some of you write kind notes that fuel my wings, and I am aware that some of you are considering if you should perch like a bird and watch, or if you should step in, or if you should try something new. And I get it. I'm doing the exact same thing. One thing I've learned since I came to UUCW, and I think I must have known it even sooner, because I have felt a magnet pulling me here for quite some time. You are an amazing bunch of people, and I am looking at all of you as owls I can learn from. I honor that we all are holding grief and gratitude. Some of you did not come back when we were in person last fall. You even just missed the messages. Not to mention there are so many feelings swirling in our homes and in our jobs and families. And there are feelings of grief and gratitude swirling here at UUCW too. We are holding so much. Consider that we are all made up of dandelion seeds, with each person representing another seed ready to form a greater whole. Will we plant weeds? Are we an acorn ready to become an oak tree? Will we plant sunny flowers like you saw in the video? Listen to these words I'm going to rattle off about emergent strategies, because in emergent strategies we learn that all life is fractal, adaptive, opportunistic, nonlinear, iterative, tenacious, resilient, transformative, interconnected, independent, and decentralized, all at the same time. Right now, our anti-racism transformation team at UUCW is practicing sharing leadership. Rather than one person leading all the meetings, they are passing coordination of the meetings around to each member of the team. They are trying to illustrate and practice exactly what they want to recommend to the congregation about different ways to be. They're giving it a try. Unitarian Universalism challenges us to learn how to come together, how to expand circles, how to use all of our principles collectively and open ourselves up to new ways of thinking and being. Since the 1960s UU empowerment movement, the killing of James Reeb, one of our UU ministers, really shook our faith. And our faith has been expanding the circle of voices that we listen to, and we have learned that those voices have survived on the margins because they were not included in this abundance. For 60 years, UUs have been shifting our language to reflect justice, equity, and compassion that our ancestors dreamed, and even it goes back hundreds of years before that. We are still learning to be in relationship with new voices. Emergent strategies can help us. In using concepts from chaos theory and quantum physics, we are taking Adrienne Marie Brown's work and building it into a larger whole. In emergent leadership, we model nature, science, activism, wisdom. This also includes disabled, Black, brown, Jewish, Romani, immigrant, incarcerated, working class, mentally ill, and queer communities in the all. That's what all means. This puts us in a line with what we want to support and embrace. And we will work on small scales in our own life and at UUCW and in our families and in our jobs to see where our actions can lead up to a larger whole. How can we be emergent in ourselves? What we pay attention to grows. What we pay attention to grows. Sometimes we will be like the birds that seem to momentarily look like they don't know where they're going. Have you seen that up in the sky where they kind of hover for a second and then swoop a new direction? Allow some chaos to manifest. Chaos is a known part of emergent processes. If you have felt some chaos since this pandemic began, know that is actually part of nature. If you are one of the leaders working closely on figuring out how to navigate this transitional time in our congregation, a little chaos is actually supposed to happen. Many of you know I make art, I draw and paint, and I love fiber arts. And I have to tell you, every single time I work on something new, some new piece of art, I have a moment where I hate the thing I am making. I don't like it. This is not what I wanted. Why did I use that color? Ugh, I meant to make that line smoother. I have this inner critic in me that comes out and tells me to quit every single time. I have learned that the critic will always show up. I kind of come to expect it and notice it. They show up in my paintings and projects. They show up in some families, communities, and even, yes, in congregations. And I try to remember that when they show up, to say, yes, I see you. I hear you, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do it anyway. Maybe they inform me, maybe they don't, but I'm going to know that it's coming and keep going anyway. I'm going to fly because it is in my essence to keep going and keep creating my ministry, my art, myself. Maybe your family is realigning right now. Maybe the people you are close to has changed. Maybe you lost loved ones and you're figuring out how to come together, perhaps with values that feel stressed so far apart. This is all part of how nature works, and I know it is not comfortable. I'm tired too of not having major parts of my life feel settled. And I too need a reminder that chaos happens before we find our way. Change does not always travel in a straight line. Shouldn't we just aim to get back to how things were before? Before what? Before pandemic? Before being busy all the time? Before shopping was a religion and church was a mall? Before slavery? Before colonialism? Before this or that era of our congregation? Which before do we long to go back to? Is before the best dream we can have right now? Adrienne Marie Brown says that we learn to compete with each other in a scarcity-based economy that denies and destroys the abundant world that we actually live in, the abundance of those dandelions. We learn to deny our longings in a scarcity-based economy, and we do not honor our skills, and we do work that occupies hours without inspiring greatness. I know I want to dream a better dream than that. In my style of leadership, I love making resources available. I might overwhelm you with how many resources I have. You are invited to engage where it sparks you. I love connecting people. And you will see, starting today, setting up ways for us to know each other again, to meet online and in person, and to love each other, to encourage you to discern in groups and then make decisions. I encourage you to ask questions of one another and me. Please ask with kindness and curiosity. We're not going to all agree, but if we can disagree in love and still respect one another, we have tools with covenant and right relations that we can use to go through these processes together. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said or did blah, 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 say, why do they think that, I wonder? Where did that idea come from? Was that the whole story? I wonder if I have the whole history here. Curiosity can guide us to new places. Anger, judgment, secrecy, triangulation can breed toxicity in work, congregation, and family systems. Be curious, kind, and clear. I invite you to learn with me, to do your best. I will do my best. Let's encourage one another to rest, really rest, to laugh, to regroup. I might not always be as clear or kind or successful as I hope, and I will make mistakes. And so will you. I vow to admit my mistakes and move through them with you using our tools of covenant. Let's aim to create environments where we can try things out. You are invited to be active in this congregation, to learn and be messy. Your congregation should be the place where you can try on new behaviors. It doesn't have to be what you learned from your family of origin or perhaps a religion you grew up with. We are beta testing right now. It is so much easier to refine than it is to attempt to be perfect the first time. Not every idea will be acted on. Some seeds take longer to sprout, and we, like the dandelions, are part of a larger whole. Let's make beauty as we go. Science fiction writer Octavia Butler said, "Civilization is to groups what intelligence is to individuals. It is a means of combining the intelligence of many to achieve ongoing group adaptation." I promise to love you. Journey with me, inviting friends, and getting to know others in this community. We need each other. I hope you will join me. Let's keep moving and building a movement we dream to belong to.
UUCW Split the Plate program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month, we give half of all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to help us live our Unitarian Universalist values and serve our community. Our Split the Plate partner for February is Literacy Services of Wisconsin. It is nearly impossible to have a productive and fulfilling life without basic literacy. Studies show that 15% of Wisconsin residents are reading at or below a third grade level. In Waukesha, that figure is slightly lower at 8%, but in Milwaukee, it is closer to 25%. So, the need is great. Literacy Services of Wisconsin has programs to help people in many different ways. For example, adults who want to improve their reading and spelling skills find help in the one-on-one lessons offered by the Adult Basic Education Program. Students from non-English speaking backgrounds find help with reading, writing, spelling, and verbal English through the English Language Learning Program. Students who want to prepare for taking the GED or similar tests find the help they need in the Adult Secondary Education Advanced Instruction Program. To support Literacy Services of Wisconsin anytime this month, go to UUCW website's Donate tab and select Split the Plate from the menu provided. Or you can text or email your donation today using the information found here. Today, I want to thank you for your generosity to Literacy Services of Wisconsin.
Before we close, I want to remind you again, we are having a post-service chat on Zoom at 11:30. Please join us to chat about emergent strategies as well as to share joys and concerns with Reverend Denise. Please join me now in extinguishing our chalice. Know that the light connects us near and far. We extinguish our chalice with words by Krista Taves, The Work We Share. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us together, in our minds, hearts, bodies, and spirits. Amen and blessed be.